Well, friends, a very lovely night here as I just got the chance to sit down and watch the Republican National Convention, get to hear Mr. Trump's speech, and definitely this struck me as an opportunity again to extend my hand as a solutions analyst to the camp of either one of these candidates. But, you know, after looking at the reactions and the expressions of this massive crowd, all in its piecemeal spectrum, it applies to me that I think there's a more massive number of American citizens that are going to identify with this guy in the end. Because, you know, now everybody's heard about Mrs. Clinton's aversion to doing things the right way and to really being portrayed as an honest, caring person outside of her strengthened foundational base. And as we proceed in the elections, I mean, I kind of now feel more comfortable. If Bernie Sanders isn't an option, I'm gonna vote for Trump, man. But I'd rather than vote for Trump, I suppose I would like to take this opportunity to ask Mr. Trump if he thinks there's a spot for me in his cabinet, because I'm immediately available. And the amount of improvements that can be made just based off what you were discussing during the convention that I just was privy to seems to me a lot more reliable and a lot more graspable and tangible sense of what can be done in the matter of making improvements for our country. And hearing that you have big initiatives in your first 100 days, I am on board with that, sir, and I would very much like to help you with that. In fact, one of the facts you spoke to was the dwindling and ever more impaired industries of energy production, such as coal, the things that have really been backbones to some industries in parts of the country. But I do feel that the talk on saving those industries is misleading. And I wouldn't say that lightly or callously. I would put that forth in a way of saying there is a much more constructive and much more attainable way to address those problems. We have towns and industries that are known for their energy production, and those families that have taken the hardest hits in the loss of those industry and the exporting of labor and technology and manufacturing to other countries is something we can step over in terms of the citizenry by saying, hey, all you people that have been affected by this, why don't you usher in the new age of energy, and we will subsidize the education, and if we can't reclaim the geographical area for this new type of energy production, you know, looking at new and sustainable ways that electricity and power are being generated and distributed, how about we take those populations hardest hit by that change and we educate those people who already have a lifetime and career inside of the energy industry and use those minds who have seen the way it's been done to augment and improve the way it's done in the future. I believe that, you know, to talk about the Second Amendment and talk about gun control, sir, if you and other voters and other people that are a part of this conversation cannot concede that, yes, the Constitution does offer every citizen, and I would say as an intelligent human being and a descendant in citizenry of those who have come before me on up, like many of us, to the people that were here when these decisions were made centuries ago, you know, we understand that if a firearm is available to every single person, you will continue to see individuals and communities in whatever scale use firearms in the United States and outside of it to commit violence and to commit crime and, in some cases, murder for the sake of ideology. Now, the reason we don't see that absolutely every day all over the country at a rate that is destroying our civilization in a truly tangible way, for everyone, I should say, that we would certainly push for legislation, and every person that not only believes in their own freedom to use firearms and keep them, but that everybody should have that same ability as part of their constitutional rights as a citizen. How about this? We already do have very strict methods of searching the backgrounds of people to determine whether or not they are a liability. And I'm sorry to say that it is easy, and it could be easier with the proper administration, which is another thing I would like to help with as part of this new administration, is the chance that, you can get all of your documentation. There is a way to prove who you are, where you've been. In many cases, not in all, of course, but many citizens have access to the capability to create and keep this information about themselves. And a way that we can make that certainly more efficient is if you do not have all of your information to prove that you should be able to have the ability to deal lethal damage and protect yourself from those who would do the same to you via a firearm, you need to prove these things about yourself. Because I hope you would understand that if you can't prove to me who you are, where you've been, and that you're mentally and physically capable of using a firearm safely for the purposes you say you're going to use them for, then I would turn you away. And it should make you comfortable that I would turn somebody else away that can't prove them things about themselves. Or those things, about themselves. Because that's how you do this safely. And so the trade amongst individuals without confirming any of that information at differences in price that are not governed or administrated in any way by the governing body of the country, you can see how that's promulgating danger. Now, you can assess whether somebody is mentally unstable at a glance if they are severely enough so that it shows in every moment of their lifetime. But I do caution that the sale of firearms or the acquisition of firearms by people who intend to use them expressly for the harm of others, right, or wish to do these things that are bad, should certainly not disable everybody else who can use them and would use them for legal, constructive purposes in their lives and would use them responsibly. Then if you would sell to somebody who is unable to prove that about themselves, you are limiting the ability of everybody to just live their lives safely. Because somehow these people are getting guns, and you can see what's happening when they have them. So to avoid that, those are the measures we need to take. It's not as simple and branding a statement of saying, well, I either approve the Second Amendment or don't. Because if that's the face value you're taking this at, you're not taking it seriously. And I would be fully forward with the entire national community who would, of course, know the public record of my part in any government administration. But as a solutions analyst, I'm here to portray things and speak on matters in a way that everybody can understand, and a way that is going to best resolve, in the most straightforward and constitutional sense, the problems we have in our society. And so again, having watched the discussions had and the promises being made and the ideals being put forth in these conventions today, I've determined that there is no better a time for me to use all of my knowledge that I have acquired through not only research but travel amongst the states of our nation in military service, in honorable service, and across the realm of the Western Pacific in many countries in Asia, not forgetting Australia and some in Africa and the Middle East, and experiencing what life is like and what problems are like for your average person, not just here in America, but everywhere. And applying that knowledge here in a way that can benefit us and stop us from concentrating so much on things that are debilitating to our progress as a nation in times that we actually want to make change. That I cannot sit idly by and watch political discussion go on without saying, sir, if it pleases you, I would be much better suited as a citizen to giving my time outside of my family to the cause of bettering the country. And if you truly wish to do that, it won't take more than a half hour of conversation to understand that, I legitimately am coming up with solutions that fit, because they're not based on cost, they're not based on huge bureaucratic planning, they're based on simple principles that serve us in the here and now. So I appreciate your consideration and, look forward to this continuing conversation. Thank you and have a good evening.